Well, most Reformed apologists are critical of natural theology and traditional theistic proofs on the basis of a simple contention. Well, the argument just doesn't work. For instance, Gordon Clark's major contention is simple. The cosmological argument, he says, for the existence of God, most fully developed by Thomas Aquinas, is a fallacy. Not the great Aquinas is a fallacy. Oh, man. We've lost our three Catholic viewership here. It is not possible to begin with sensory experience and proceed. So it's not possible to begin with sensory experience and proceed by the formula laws of logic to God's existence as a conclusion, he says.
Right. So you can't go from our sensory experience by means of the laws of logic to get to a conclusion. He's trying to say that's.
I'm feeling the laws of non-contradiction. I'm able to see them. Yeah.
All right. What about Van Til? Well, his discussion of the question of arguments for God's existence, he frequently speaks positively of theistic proofs, but in his view, the traditional formulations of these proofs are invalid, and he suggests theologically compromised. Why? Well, he says, I do not reject the theistic proofs, but merely insist on formulating them in such a way as not to compromise the doctrines of Scripture. Right. So if he believes that if they're formulated in such a way that they compromise the doctrine of Scriptures, then they're not acceptable. So properly formulated, though, he says the several theistic proofs really reduced to just one, right? Namely, what he calls the indirect presuppositional proof. So if you formulate them properly, they're all reduced kind of just to this one presuppositional proof.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be constructed rightly, theistic proofs ought to presuppose the ontological trinity and contend that unless we make this presupposition, all human predication is meaningless, he says. Van Til puts the matter most clearly in the following. He says, the true theistic proofs undertake to show that the ideas of existence, the ontological proofs, of cause, the cosmological proofs, and the purpose, the teleological proofs, are meaningless unless they presuppose the existence of God. And again, when we talk about God here, we're talking about the biblical Christian God. And how do you define the biblical Christian God without the Bible or the Christian worldview? And so from the Christian worldview, we go to the Bible, and from the Bible, there's our initial starting point.
Right.
Because then God is able to make round squares, right? So if I'm doing this, well, God is so powerful that he can even make round squares. And so, okay, then is it possible to show a round square? Is it possible that God is able to be both existence and non-existent? Well, wouldn't that make him an amazing God to do something against his own nature? And then, where do we go when he says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life? No man can come to the Father except through me. Is he just joking then, or do we take him as his word? And so there's a need to ground the qualities of God in Scripture as revealed by the author.
Right. You just can't willy-nilly make up anything and say, there you go. Right. Yeah.
Right. Which is what the critique is for the classicalist and the evidentialist, is that what do you throw out as proof or against your position then? Well, don't you turn to the Bible and say, this is who I know God has revealed himself to be. And so why don't we go with that? And why aren't we more honest about that?
Good. All right. So that is arguments, these traditional arguments for the existence of God. And in general, then the Reformed apologists kind of, they're not acceptable, right? That's the basic idea here. Unless, as Van Til suggests, you kind of reformulate them in such a way that they result in a presuppositional argument.